So firstly, I'm from Jamaica. I would have loved to come up to some Vibes Cartel or something. I thought we were respecting cultures in this place, weren't we? Good evening, everyone. It is truly my honor to be here. Firstly, I want to get some things out of the way. I am a Baptist preacher. It is Saturday evening. I am preaching tomorrow morning, and I'm standing in front of what looks like a pulpit with a mic. Anything is liable to come out of my mouth tonight, all right? So I wanted to make that clear. I themed or titled my presentation, Black Excellence, Presence, Purpose, and the Power to Shape Justice. Let me first begin by expressing my sincere gratitude to the Boston chapter of the National Association for Blacks in Criminal Justice for the invitation to join you this evening, and of course, to my brother from another mother, Brother Jude David. I met this gentleman about 4 or 5 months ago. I started my new role as Chief Executive Officer at Victory Human Services, and I had the absolute privilege of making my very first hire day 3 on the job, and that was the wonderful Jodalise Cora, who I hired as my executive assistant. And through Jody, I met Jude, and I remember we had a lunch meeting one afternoon, and as the brother sat there and spoke, I felt like I was looking in a mirror. I felt like I was looking at a younger, less handsome version of myself. To the leadership of this organization, to tonight's honorees, to all the honorable guests that are here, and to the emerging leaders that may be present, the seasoned professionals who are here, whose work continue to shape the justice system, the landscape in Boston and across this nation, I say thank you. Tonight is more than a gala. Tonight is a moment of celebration, reflection, and recommitment. Before I begin, I would like to share a brief reflection. I often think about the first time many of us walk into certain spaces connected with the justice system, whether it's a courtroom, it's a policy meeting, it is a police station, it is a classroom, or just a community meeting where difficult conversations are happening. For many of us, that first moment carries quite a realization. And I will share a brief experience that I had. I'm from Jamaica, I'm 6'2", I have dreadlocks. They weren't always this long, I didn't have extensions, I grew them from the root. And if any of you in here have dreadlocks, you know the first few months of that, these bad boys don't look good. You feel yourself. I felt myself when it was growing. But after I looked back on some pictures, I said, somebody should have slapped me because that thing looked horrible. But I remember I had just completed my PhD program. I have, by the way, which I'm very proud at all times to announce, 3 PhDs. I have written and successfully defended 3 dissertations. And I remember I was assigned to serve a school in Beverly, Massachusetts. Yeah, somebody said, oh boy. Oh boy is right, it's a white school district. And there's a particular school that is, my PhD is in applied behavior analysis. And there's a particular school that is considered troubled. It's school for pre-K students who have behavioral issues. And I was hired to serve as the behaviorist for that school. Well, the first morning, I walked in and I was supposed to meet with the principal, the special education coordinator, and a few more people. And I got there and, you know, we're a little bit challenged with time. I don't know about you. Time and I are trying to align our relationship. It doesn't always work. But I got there and the office person announced to others that I was there, and so the coordinator, she came in, and she was a little bit flustered, and she said, oh, she stretched her hand out, and she, introduced herself, and I said to her, I'm Dr. Bennett. She said, you're Dr. Bennett? I said, yes. She said, huh. And then she asked to be excused. She came back and she said to me, I'm so sorry for my reaction. I was just expecting somebody different. I said to her, were you expecting Dr. Bennett? She said, yes. I said, were you expecting Dr. Andre Bennett? She said, yes. I said, well, I am he. He is me. The point of that story, when we walk, some of us, in certain spaces, it is hard for us not to make an immediate realization that there aren't many of us that look the way we look in those spaces, in those rooms, at those tables, having those conversations. You walk in and the room present two very conflicting and potent realizations. First, you feel the weight of history and responsibility because you know that this space that you're now occupying wasn't always built for your participation or with your participation in mind. You know that you are an anomaly in this space at this time. As a matter of fact, some of those rooms and those tables, when they were built, yes, they were built with people who look like me, people who have an accent, people who have dreadlocks, people who are 6 foot tall, 6'2" and black, but it wasn't built for us to sit at the table. It was built with us in mind to be part of the menu. And so that realization is real. You realize that your presence is not accidental. You are there because generations before us have fought, have given up their lives, given up their freedoms, given up their space, give of themselves to ensure that we can be in that space and not on the other side of the table. And suddenly, for me at least, suddenly, Black excellence is no longer a personal achievement. In that moment, Black excellence becomes a responsibility to serve with integrity, a responsibility to represent our community with dignity, a responsibility to ensure that those who come after us and enter these spaces will have even greater access and opportunity than we had before. And that, I believe, is what tonight is all about. Tonight, we celebrate the real, true meaning of Black excellence in the pursuit of justice. We celebrate professionals who have dedicated their lives to something that the systems that create didn't think people like us could achieve. We celebrate tonight understanding that we are just gatekeepers and space holders for those who are coming ahead of us. That is what Black excellence means to me as a young man. But as we gather, we recommit ourselves to building a more equitable, accountable, and compassionate system. Because we hold firm to the words, at least I do, to the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who said, until all of us is free, none of us are free. Amen, somebody. Amen. And when we talk about Black excellence tonight, we must be clear about what the phrase means. It is not simply an individual success. You see, Black excellence is not just titles, credentials, or career achievement. Black excellence is our tradition. For me, Black excellence is my mother who sits at the table over there. Just wave your hand, mommy, so they can see you. Come on! A woman who had to care for 5 children all on her own with the help of no man, but knew that she didn't have a choice but to ensure that her kids were raised well. Amen, somebody. Amen. That is what black excellence is. It is our culture. It is in our culture. It is the air we breathe, the blood running through our veins. It is our mothers and our fathers, our ancestors, those who came before us, our stories and our history. Black excellence is us. And so I want us not to forget who we are and what we are. It is the tradition of brilliance, rising in environments where billionaires have taken over and shaped the policies, and our brilliance or excellence often is forgotten or minimized. It is the tradition of our people who studied law, and even when the law did not accept them, they pursued the law. It is the tradition of professionals who entered institutions that had historically excluded them. You see, black excellence is not just going to school and graduating with a degree and earning money. Black excellence is the community that we carry, the communities that have carried us. Black excellence is in the way we walk, the way we speak, the way we show up, the way we present ourselves, the way we fight for our rights, the way we stand up for our community, the way we defend our people, the way we refuse to stop, the way we choose not to bend. Black excellence is us. And so that is what I want us to remember tonight. I'm telling you that while we are grateful to the folks here at NABCJ, did I say that right? While we're grateful, I've been practicing that all week. While we're grateful to the folks here at NABCJ, and we continue to cheer on those professionals in criminal justice, we want you to know that not only do we support you, not only do we cheer you on, but we hold you responsible and accountable. Because you see, there is a saying that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had. He said, "Love without power is sentimental and anemic, and power without love is reckless and abusive." Love without power, Jody, is sentimental and anemic. Don't tell us that you love us, but you strip us of all our rights. Don't tell us that you love us, but you don't include us in the conversations. Don't tell us that you love us, but you close the doors in our faces. Don't tell us that you love us, but you take away our agency. Love without power, it is sentimental and anemic. And we are living in a time where we see sentimentalism. So friends, remember that power without love, it is reckless and abusive. Your job, while you keep us safe, while you create policies, while you have conversations, while you occupy spaces that ensure that the balance of justice is fair, your jobs are to be gatekeepers of the young boys in school who learn differently. And because they learn differently and there is nothing that speaks to their kind or their style of learning, it affects their behavior. And so they create systems because they don't understand our behavior. They create systems that move us from schools into prison. Your job is to be a gatekeeper to ensure that that no longer keeps happening. Am I talking to somebody in this room? Amen. I was serving at that school in Beverly. Fast forward about a year after I had that experience. I was in a classroom first and foremost. It's a classroom that used to be what they call the quiet room. And it's really just a prison. There's one kid who was acting up, always acting up. By the way, the school is for kids with behavioral issues. But I noticed something in one of the in one of the classrooms with this young man, with this kid, 4 years old. Every kid in his class had behavioral issues. Every kid in his class act out of turn from time to time. But he was the only one who would constantly be removed from the class, from the group, and be placed in the quiet room, the prison. Because the quiet room is padded. Yeah? It has no windows, it has a door. And once he's placed in it, 2 people stand outside and guard the door. He's the only young man that gets placed in the... One of the things that I notice, he has never physically harmed a child in his class. Never hit another student. He has kicked teachers, he has spat on teachers, never physically hit another student. Every student in that class has physically hit another student, while also kicking and spitting at other teachers. And one morning I'm walking into school, and I noticed 4 police cars outside. Stick with me. 4 police cars outside the school gate. And so I rushed inside because something told me something was happening with this young man. His mother is now a member of my congregation in Lynn. When I got upstairs, there were 6 police officers at the classroom door that I was supposed to be entering. And here is this young man literally being held down on the ground, 4 years old. 4 years old. By one police officer. Because he was having a rough day. When I pulled the teacher to the side and asked her what is happening, I cannot believe somebody would not have called me first before you called 911. The first thing she said to me, and I must confess that I don't know in the moment if I was getting ready to pray for her or punch her. And I don't support violence. But she said to me, can you look at his hair? His hair. He had cornrows the morning. She said, look at his hair. Can you imagine his mother said? I said, woman, look who you're talking to. Look at who, because I'm standing here in front of you with dreadlocks and they weren't even tight like Jude's are tonight. And you're telling me, and she said, yes, whenever his hair is combed like that, she said, that's when he acts up. And I said to her, so why are the cops here? She said he took up a block and charged at the front of the class. I said I had a student took up a block and charged in my face yesterday. Nobody called the police about that. The difference is this kid was the only black student in that school. These are not stories I'm making up. These are experiences I've had. Our jobs, your jobs, is not simply to ensure that you're advancing in your career, that you're doing well. You are in the room, you're at the table, you're a part of the conversation because nobody understands what happens in our communities the way we do. We can't have people who are not a part of our communities having conversations about us and making policies for us. I didn't come to act like this, I promise. This was not the plan. So tonight, as I prepare to take my seat, I want to remind us that our excellence, the beautiful tapestry, the amazing collection of grace and wisdom, education, expertise and excellence that sit in this room is not so that we can just feel good about ourselves. Understand that folks gave their lives so that we can look the way we look tonight. Understand that folks gave up their freedom so that we can go to schools and institutions and universities that historically excluded us, and still today in 2026 do not believe that we should be there. We are living in a political climate where up is down and back is front and crazes are happening. We have the most unqualified people looking at the most qualified among us, telling us that we are not qualified to be where we sit. Our job is to hold their feet to the fire. And to ensure that it doesn't stop, the excellence doesn't stop with us. To ensure that our communities no longer continue looking the way they look. I am not going to give you statistics because there are people in here that are better with numbers than I am about the population, the general population and the prison population in this country. We want to make sure that we do the work that is necessary to mentor those that are coming behind us, to provide those that are coming up behind us with the tools that they have, that they need to make the right decisions in life, to ensure that the population in prison doesn't skew to one set of people, and it is the set of people that are more melanated than the others, but to ensure that black excellence travels and continues and spread throughout our entire community. God bless you.
I'm back. So on behalf of the Boston chapter of NABCJ, we want to present you with a award of appreciation for presenting us today and being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
So now I have to do the whole speech over for this time.
Thank you so much.